Hello students. I hope that you are all doing good. I hope that you are healthy and well and that you're practicing social distancing, and I hope that before long we can go back to being a little more like we used to be. I'm so sad that we won't see you the remainder of the school year. So if I see you in Walmart or the grocery store, I'm going to wave at you. I'm not going to hug you, not going to fist bump you, but I am going to wave at you. Today we're going to talk about volume and surface area. I think that's one of the things you can do on your AMI packet for bonus points. So I thought we would go over how to find volume and surface area of some ordinary items that I found in my kitchen. A very basic definition of volume is the area of the base multiplied by the height. Now, the base of a Cheez-It box is a rectangle, but the base of an oatmeal box is a circle. So we have different bases, but once you figure out the base, you just want to know, okay, multiply it by the height to find the entire volume. Today we're going to look at two ordinary shapes, a cylinder where the base is a circle and a rectangular prism where the base is a rectangle. So let's start with our cylinder. I'll zoom out so you can see what I'm doing. So what we need to do first on the cylinder is we need to find the area of the base. So the base is a circle. So the formula for the area of a circle is pi times r squared. So to find the volume of the cylinder, I need to take the area, which is pi times r squared, and then I need to multiply that by the height. So it's two processes here. So I'm going to take this. I need to find the radius. That's what I'm going to need in order to find the area of the circle. When let me get straight here. The radius of that is going to be 2. Looks like it has a diameter of 4, which would mean the radius would be 2. So for my circle, I have a radius of 2. So I'm going to multiply pi times 2 squared. We all know that 2 squared is 4. When I multiply pi times 4, I get 12.57. You can't see that on that calculator thing. You get 12.57. Let me show you what I put in. Maybe I can just do it on here. Turn that sideways. Or I'll go to my X app, Calculator X. And you may be able to see it better there. 4 times second pi, 12.56, rounds to 12.57. So that is the area of the circle. Now, how tall is it? What's the height of that cylinder? Because I've got to multiply that area times the height of the box. So I'm going to measure the box, measure its height, and let me turn it this way so y'all can see it. Let's see here. That box is 7 inches. So the height of that box is 7 inches. So this is pi times r squared. Well, we've already worked that part. It was 12.57 when we rounded it, and we want to multiply that by 7. And that gives me 87.96. Now, what did I measure in? I measured in inches, and I'm finding volume, so it's inches cubed. So that's how you find the volume of a cylinder. You find the area of the bottom, and you multiply it by how tall it is. Okay, so the formula is pi r squared h. Don't let that overwhelm you with the different variables, and always use the pi button on your calculator. The next thing we're going to find the volume of is this Cheez-It box. So again, I'm going to need to know the area of the base. So I'm going to call this the base, or I'm going to call this the base. It's the same thing. So I'm going to find its area. So to find the area, and this is a rectangular prism, the bottom is the shape of a rectangle. So to find the volume of a rectangular prism, I'm going to need the area of the base, which is length times width. And then I'm going to need to multiply that by the height, or how tall it is. So I'm going to start with finding the area of the base, and this dimension, I'm going to call this the length. The length looks to be 6 inches. So length, 6 inches. Now I'll measure and I'll find the width. I'm going to call this the width, and that looks to be 2 1/4 inches. So the width is 2 1/4 inches. You might call that 2.25 inches. Now I've got to find the height. So this is the height, how tall it is. And we'll measure that to be, looks like 8 1/4. So we'll call that 8.25 inches. So then we just plug those into our formula. Our length is 6, our width is 2.25, and our height is 8.25. So when I multiply those together, zoom in on this part, autofocus. Six, you can't see that at all. You'll just have to trust me on there. Times 2.25 times 8.25 is 111.375. I'm going to round that to 111.38 inches cubed. Okay, that's the volume. Volume of a rectangular prism is pretty simple. Okay, surface area. Surface area is the amount of space covering a 3D object. I like to use the example of covering the object with wrapping paper that doesn't overlap, if you had to cover it all with wrapping paper. And the Cheez-It box has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sides. It has 6 surfaces that you're going to have to cover. However, the cylinder, the oatmeal box, has a top and a bottom, which are both circles, and then it has the part of the box. Wonder what that would look like if we cut that open. We'll think about that here in just a second. Okay. So let's find the surface area of the Cheez-It box, since we were just working on that one. And we've already found the dimensions, but I'm going to measure again. And we're going to find the surface area of the base. And I have a top base and I have a bottom base. So I'm going to have 2 of these. So this is 6. And this was 2 1/4. So for the Cheez-It box, I have 6 times 2 1/4. I'm going to call that 2.25. And y'all, I have a top and a bottom, so I have 2 of those. Okay, so I have to cover that. And then I'm going to talk about the front. I'd call that the front. And it has a width of 6 and a height of 8 1/4. Should be the same dimensions we got a while ago. So it's 6 times 8.25, and again I have this side and this side that should measure the same, so there's 2 of those. So then I need this tall skinny side, and I'm going to measure it. Now you should already know that this is going to be 2 1/4 and this is going to be 8.25. The measurements aren't going to change when I slip around to these different sides. They're going to remain the same. So this is 2 1/4 and this is 8 1/4. So I may run out of room on that line. I have 2.25 times 8.25. And I have 2 of those sides as well. So I'm going to multiply each of these together. 6 times 2.25 is 13.5 times 2 is 27. So the first one comes up to be 27. The second one, 6 times 8.25 is 49.5 times 2 is 99. And then the last one here, 2.25 times 8.25 is 18.5625. And then I'm going to multiply that by 2. I get 37.125. Now I got one more step. I got to add those up. And that totals up to be 163.125. If you're rounding to 2 decimal places, 163.13. And this is in inches squared. It's in inches squared because you're finding surface area. You're multiplying inches times inches, inches times inches, inches times inches. Nowhere did you multiply 3 sets of inches together. Whereas over here on volume just a few minutes ago, we multiplied inches times inches times inches to give me inches cubed. So keep those straight on the inches squared and the inches cubed. So now we need to find the surface area of a cylinder. Well, we need to find the area of the top and the area of the bottom. So once again, I'm going to be measuring, and it has a diameter of 4. Since it has a diameter of 4, it has a radius of 2. Remember that the area of a circle is pi r squared, and the radius is 2 inches. So this is pi times 2 squared, which turns out to be 4 pi. Now, that's the top and also the bottom. So you have 2 sets of 4 pi. Okay, you could go ahead and calculate that. 4 times pi times 2. And that gives me 25.13 approximately. Okay, that's the top and the bottom. That's the easy part. Now let's talk about this shape right here. Well, first of all, I need to know how tall it is. And it's 7. And I need to know how big around it is. I want y'all to see what would happen. Let me do my cutting last. If I measure all the way around to find the distance that way, I want you to look and see that that comes out to be about 12.5 when I measure that for that all the way around, which is the circumference. But let's find the circumference using the formula for it. So the circumference is given by 2 times pi times r. Now on this one we already know that r is 2, so this really turns into 4 pi. It really turns into the same thing in the area, only because of the 4. That's the only number it works that way with. And so the circumference, if we calculate it using the formula, turns out to be 12.56 repeating. And we measured it with our measuring device, and it turned out to be, I don't know why that does that. I can't get it to autofocus. So it comes out to be 12.57 when we round. Now, that's the circumference all the way around. Now I'm going to cut this. I'm going to take that apart. When I take that apart and I lay it flat, you notice that it is a rectangle, right? And that this dimension going this way is 7 inches. We measured that. And the dimensions going this way, it's 12.5 or 12.57, depending on if you're measuring or using the formula. So the area here is simply length times width. That's what you have on a cylinder's outer casing. So to find that area, I would need to do 7 times 12.57. I'm going to use that measurement. I wouldn't mark it wrong if you measured and used 12.5. 7 times 12.57 is 87.99. I'm going to add that to 25.13, and that total surface area comes up to be 113.12 inches squared. Okay, so that's how you find the surface area of a rectangular prism and of a cylinder. Okay, I know the cylinder is a little more complicated, but remember, all you're really dealing with are two circles and a rectangle. Okay, two circles and a rectangle.